Today's video is going to be about Arctic Fox dye in the color Poison. I would consider this more of a true red. So on some people it will look more red, and then I've seen that some people say that it turns like a pinky red on them. I've got my swatches labeled 1 through 12. 1 is green, 2 is blue, 3 is a natural red, 4 is black, and then up through 11 we have a range going to platinum blonde, and then number 12 is like the toned version of platinum blonde, number 11. I'm going to start off by putting the dye directly from the container onto the top of each swatch, and then some people like to see the dye diluted. I'll do that down the swatch, and I'll tell the measurements for that as we go. I do want to just say too that I can't guarantee that the dye will look the same on your hair, and generally speaking everyone's hair is different, so everyone's hair will take dye differently. I just want this video to be more of a reference for what it could look like on your hair, but I do think you should always try and do as much research as possible. For the center, I'm doing a mixture of 1/4 of a teaspoon of dye with a teaspoon of diluter. And then for the ends, I'm going to do a mixture of 1/4 of a teaspoon of dye with a tablespoon of diluter. Okay, so I'm gonna let these sit for like 3 hours. I will rinse them out, and then when they're dry, I will meet you back here. This definitely dyed pretty much all of the swatches except number 4, which I think is pretty good. I was secretly hoping that number 2 would turn like a purple color, but in reality it looks just like, it looks kind of like a brownish red on the direct dye portion. I can tell this is a little bit more of a pigmented dye because even on the diluted portions in the darker hair you still see red. My swatches clearly didn't really turn pink, but that doesn't mean that yours still can't. I felt like when I first applied it, it looked more like an orangey red, and then as it sat, it started to look like a pinky red. The brightest one is number 11. It's very like fiery, intense. But number 12, 10, 9, 8, and so on, they are a little bit more deeper looking. As of right now, I have only done, I think, 1 true red from a different brand, and that would be Ion in the color Garnet. So this is comparable to number 12. This is comparable to number 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, and comparable to number 6. The Garnet is more on the burgundy red side. I originally thought it was more of a true red, but now that I'm comparing it to Poison, you can definitely see the more like berry tones in the dye, in the Ion dye. So this one is comparable to number 3. And these were the more natural redhead swatches. It's kind of the same thing. They both still pull red, but the ion dye looks a little bit more of like a purpley red, where Poison is just true red. You know what? I was thinking about it. When I did the Punky color Fire, that one I thought was supposed to be orange, but it turned out very red. So I'd like to compare that. So this is Punky color Fire, comparable to number 12. Number 11. Number 10. 9. Number 8. And number 7. These are definitely a lot more similar, but I think because the Punky color one was advertised as more orange, the red definitely has more of like that burnt orange look to it versus Poison. I'm not really sure, honestly, if it's picking up on camera because they are very similar, but I promise in person you can definitely see these are more orangey red and this is more just like red. I hate when I'm doing these comparisons. I feel like I keep repeating myself over and over, like, this is a true red. Guess what? This is a true red. Did you know that this is a true red? But I'm not always the greatest with words. And then this would be a similar comparison to number 3. Number 4 for Punky color was a slightly more darker red, but I feel like the Punky color made it even darker looking. The only other kind of red dye I've done would be Lime Crime in the color Caramel or Caramel, however you want to say it. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. The Lime Crime one definitely pulls much more brown, which makes sense considering the name is caramel. I just thought when I was dyeing the hair that when I picture the color caramel in my food and stuff, it's usually more of a golden color, but to me it's a little bit more red. That's why I thought I'd compare it. And then this is comparable to number 3. I would say the Lime Crime one looks a little bit more natural, and obviously the Arctic Fox one looks very red. And just for reference, I thought it would be nice to compare this to Sunset Orange from Arctic Fox as well. So this is comparable to number 12, 11, 10, 9, and 8. And this is a similar comparison to number 3. Once again, this swatch was slightly darker beforehand, but they're both kind of a natural red. Now, I didn't think these would be similar looking, but I just thought if you... Suki, stop it. I just thought that if you're someone who likes to use Arctic Fox, or you're between colors or something, you might want to see comparisons for these two. Now that we've seen everything together, let's get into the close-ups. I do have a link below for die requests if you have any. I also have my die schedule link below along with my Patreon. I hope this video helped, and I hope to see you in my next one.